Hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I'm gonna do this one for me. I don't think anybody really listens to these long ones that I do, but I really enjoyed seeing Howie Mandel on Tigerbelly, and I needed to let it out. Maybe just to myself, whatever. It was so fun to listen to him talk about how he came up, how he was on Deal or No Deal. He never wanted to be on it. They called him up and he was settled into, he said no 3 times. They called him up and his agent, I guess, and said, hey, these people want you to do it. And he's like, his career is going nowhere. So he's like, I'm just gonna settle into this. No, I'm good. And then they call him back and he's like, no. And then I think they call, what happened? He said, I'm going to be at this place having lunch or whatever. If the guy wants to come, he can come. And the guy showed him what the game was like for Deal or No Deal. He thought that was silly. He went home and his wife told him, take it, take it. I don't know if he was joking or serious, but he was like, she told me she doesn't want me around the house anymore. He said he was in a bad place mentally. His career was going down. He had gone from, having sold out venues to places where there were barely 20% of the people were there when he got there. So, he had been on set elsewhere and all these other things, and stuff was going nowhere. And so he took the job and he thought maybe this has some comedic stuff to it. And they're like, no. Well, I don't think they said no, but he said he wanted comedic stuff as a backup. Um, and he went to the place, and he said after he was done, after he taped 5 hours of it, he was like, he felt so weird. Like he had no lines because you're a game show host, you don't have any lines. He didn't feel it was appropriate to use the jokes that he had because he was dealing with real people, not actors or anything. Real people with real problems who the money that they could win could really change their lives. And he felt like he didn't do anything. And he was even talking about the first person who I can't go into every detail of it, but it was nice to hear. And what he learned from that whole thing was that say yes to everything because you never know where it's going to lead. I don't agree with that because let's say you are not Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah. Oprah said one of the things she had to learn was how to say no, because everybody wants a piece of you at that point, I guess, especially when it comes to money, and you can't say yes to everything at that point, I guess. Maybe at Howie's point you could, but still, if he had said yes to everything, he probably would not have been in that situation to say uh, no, 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 and then yes. He talked about the fact that he never wanted to be a comedian. He just went to a place and I guess it was a dare. Hey, go up and do some comedy. And that's the opportunity. Means, motive, and opportunity. They use it to apply to murders on TV, and it applies really to everything in life. Means, motive, and opportunity. And he had the opportunity to get up on stage, and he had no act, no act whatsoever. He told Bobby Lee to go and look at one of his specials, um, if he has more than one, and said, "You look at that, and you tell me what my act is." He was like, he had a glove, he had gloves in his pockets because um, he thought he might have to open the bathroom uh, toilet, uh, the faucet. So he took them out of his pocket and he's like, "Hey, look at this!" And people laughed. And he put it on his head and he blew it up until it burst. And people laughed. And he just did stupid little things and people laughed. And eventually, well, bit by bit, people saw him and they invited him to do this or that or the other. One of the things that he was not um, initially invited to do, as he was telling the story, was to go on Johnny Carson. And Johnny Carson was the legitimizing venue for comedians. If you'd never been on Johnny Carson, were you really a comedian? So he tried many times to get on, and they told him, no, Johnny likes these straight-laced people, suit and tie people, and that was not his comedy. He was a running joke on Letterman's, the list of things, 10 things, da 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 da. I guess as a bad thing, we'll send you to a Howie Mandel concert. I never got his Letterman's jokes. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I think it was Joan Rivers. He was at a venue, maybe it was the comedy, I don't know the name of it, and Joan Rivers was there, and he asked Mitzi to put him on. I guess everybody has been to that place where Mitzi owns, and put him on right before her so he could cross paths with her. And Bobby Lee was like, yeah, that's exactly how I think. And he was sick completely. He said, he didn't know if he would make it to the club because he had a fever. And for whatever reason, well, he was explaining to Bobby, and Bobby Lee agreed. And once you get on stage, you lose all of that, whatever. And he killed it. And as he was getting off the stage, I think Joan Rivers again is like, you're funny. And then she gets off stage, and he's waiting for her. He's, just milling around. Well, he's not milling around because he's so sick. And she's like, hey, call this person. And he goes on to, and again, I'm not really sure, but I think it's Joan Rivers. And from Joan Rivers, Johnny Carson wants him to come on. So he goes on Johnny Carson. He's finally legitimized. He's been on Johnny Carson however many different times. And he says the last time he was on, he took some ridiculous items. It took forever to get those onto the stage. It was a complete, uh, you know, cluster, whatever. And then when he gets on the stage with these, like a stuffed saber-tooth tiger, and a giant carrot, he has no idea, no plan whatsoever as to how to use them in an act. So Johnny's asking him, so what's this about? And he's, you know, making a joke where he says, it was really, really hard, Johnny. Don't ask me about it." And that's where he was going. And Bobby Lee laughed. And I, you know, chuckled a little bit. Yeah, this is ridiculous. You put all this effort into getting stuff on the stage and now you don't want to talk about it. That's funny. But Johnny Carson didn't think that that was funny. And after the show, they told him, Johnny never wants you to come on the show again. And it's just these ping and pongs, pings, but of life, I mean, these knocks, and then he's talking about, deal or no deal. I'm going back, I'm backtracking for a second. That this show that he never made any jokes on, that he never wanted to do, was the biggest thing that ever came about um, in his life thus far. And it put him on um, America's Got Talent and wherever else he was. He was on some elsewhere and da da da. Da. And I was like, I get what you're saying about say yes to everything. This is so cool. And I think I'm going to do a short about this. But apparently, Bobby Lee was on um, Howie's podcast with Shin Lee, I think the guy's name is. I have no idea who Shin Lee is. I've never heard that name. If I saw a picture of him, yeah, I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, I know you. You were on America's Got Talent. You were that magician. Now, apparently, Bobby Lee is completely enamored with this guy. And he was really, really crestfallen when he went on the podcast with Shin Lee. And Shin Lee doesn't know who he is. And he comes back home and I guess he moans and groans to Kalila and whatever else. He's so sad because he says, they could have made an Asian connection. He wouldn't be just like any other fan, and they could have that camaraderie that I guess he has with that rich painter who's rich from painting stuff for Facebook. Well, It's that's a love triangle because that wealthy painter wants to be closer to Bobby Lee, and Bobby Lee wants to be closer to Shin Lee, who does not know him. I don't know if Shin Lee knows this painter guy. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm sorry, but I thought that was hilarious. But how he calls up um, Shin Lee on the phone, and it becomes on the show. Right as as Bobby Lee is saying that he didn't know me, and uh, he puts him on speakerphone, and it's like Bobby Lee's like, "Hey, could you come on my show anytime you're in LA? You could come in my show." And the guy is really not non-committal. He's like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. We'll see how it goes." And so at the end of the call, Bobby Lee turns to Kalila and everybody else. You see what I mean? Do you believe me? He doesn't know who I am. It's like you could hear the name of somebody, but you don't know anything about that person. And of course, depending, not even depending, that's what Howie was talking about. There was some famous cowboy actor that he talked about, and he said, look at this guy. This guy was so famous 2 generations ago, and now nobody knows him. And people in Hollywood ask you, how do you want to be remembered? You're not going to be remembered. You have your heyday, it passes, and that's it. You're gone. And so anyway, it's so funny because um, apparently there's a connection with Shinli, this magician. I have to go and look at his videos because he was also on Penn and Teller YouTube videos. I only watch YouTube videos. I don't even have a TV. And Penn and Teller said it was perfect, that his act was perfect because they could not some of the things they saw, but most of the things they had no idea how he did it is what I got from that. And I have to go back and look at that. But they were really happy to have him. Apparently they had we used to have a show where I guess it's used to because that was 2015 maybe. And they used to have a show where and I guess this guy is gonna be, the David Blaine or whatever David Copperfield of this era because you can see if you go on YouTube, I suppose, that he even long before America's Got Talent, he was on Penn and Teller. Yeah, I don't know if it's long before, but I feel like it is. Anyway, so the call ends and that's the end of it. But then somebody's calling Bobby Lee. Guess who it is? It's Shin Lee. He got Bobby Lee's number from the mutual friend of the show, kind of thing. And now he's all eager to be on the show because I guess his friend has informed him, you don't know who Bobby Lee is, or maybe he saw some YouTube videos or whatever. Now it's not even a question of when you're in LA. He's like, yeah, I'll come to LA just for this. I was like, wow. But Bobby Lee doesn't get it. He's like, okay, yeah, you can come next week or whatever, or I'll call you right after the show, or no. He's like, yeah, well, I'm really glad that he's really excited. He's thinking, but he's not understanding that the guy wants to come on the show as soon as he can. Book me, is his attitude now, because now he knows who Bobby Lee is. But it's just. I barely know who Bobby Lee is, and I have to go look this stuff up myself. He's that guy from Mad TV. Now, why would I even watch Mad TV? Well, because it was a Mad magazine. And I know that Mad magazine was a special thing. I've seen a couple, I guess. So then when you have a Mad TV, now it's like, oh, that thing, they have a version of it on TV. So I would watch it. Now, nobody knows Bobby Lee at this point, but now he becomes famous, great. And from then to now, um, that guy from, what do you call it, The Hangover, he ruled that era. He was everywhere, doing those accents that I guess Bobby Lee wouldn't do anymore, maybe. Um, but yeah, him and a couple other people. But Bobby Lee was in the wind, at least for me. And now sometimes he's on Hawaii 5 I I don't watch TV. I don't watch Hawaii Five-O. So, and same thing with Howie Mandel. Okay, he was on what was the name of that this show that he was on? Was it Sent Elsewhere that they were talking about? I don't know, but yeah, that's really on the edge of perceptibility. I mean, seniors and other people might know about Sent Elsewhere or ER or whatever else he was on. I can't even remember what it was exactly. I think it's Sent Elsewhere. But yeah, if not for Deal or No Deal, most people would probably not even know Howie Mandel. So I guess it's pretty lucky for him. And how many other people, how many other Howies are out there who just don't get a second chance? They're just gone. It's just crazy. But anyway, I see that I'm running up against time, and this is a piece for me. But still, I should make it 2 minutes shorter than all the others that nobody seemed to listen to. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good one. Peace.